Hello there, YouTube audience. This is Skills for Food coming at you live from his own living room with another exciting chapter of the quest for the Diamond Sword. Today, I bring you a heart-filling moment that invokes a lot of drama and emotion inside of the human heart. If you didn't feel anything, it'd be like you were not human. But anyway, today I bring you Chapter 8, Skeletoons. Spooky, scary Skeletoons send shivers down me spine. So, without further ado, here it is.
Skeletons and shivers down your spine. Shrieking skulls will shock your soul, seal your doom tonight. Spooky, scary skeletons speak with such a screech. You'll shake and shudder in surprise when you hear these zombies shriek.
Chapter 8. It sounded like a parade of rattling bones as the skeletons raced toward them with great force and shot arrows from a hill high above the fearless foursome. One skeleton leapt down, and Max charged toward it with his sword. His powerful blow ripped the head off the skeleton. This infuriated the other skeletons, and they shot arrows as fast as they could. An arrow flew through the air, and Henry fell back. "Are you hit?" asked Lucy. "It hit my arm," Henry said as he put up and shot an arrow with his other hand. "It hurts, but I'll be okay." Henry's health level was still low from the spider bite, and now it dipped even lower as he was attacked. This battle was making him weaker. Steve knocked out two skeletons with his sword. When three skeletons surrounded him, he struck one with his sword. The other two had their bows pointed at Steve. He realized this might be the end. After all the battles, he would be killed, spawned back in his village, and still unable to help the villagers. Suddenly, Lucy and Max crept up behind the skeletons and knocked them to the ground with their swords. "There are so many of them," Lucy said as they looked at the countless skeletons that approached the group. The night sky began to darken. The black skeleton eyes seemed almost invisible in the charcoal-colored night. "We need to find shelter," said Steve as a skeleton came up behind him and knocked him to the ground. Steve got up and struck the skeleton. Two pairs of purple eyes shone through the sea of the skeleton. "It's Endermen!" Lucy called to Steve. "Don't stare at them!" But it was too late, and the Endermen were provoked. They teleported, landing in the thick of the skeleton battle. "That's water down there," said Lucy as she ran up to the hill to flee from the skeletons. "We need to jump and swim." "Get a bucket of water!" shouted Henry. "I have that in my inventory," Steve yelled to the group, but it was too late. Lucy was trapped. "I can't!" Lucy cried out as the two Endermen teleported in front of her. A skeleton cornered Steve. Max swung his sword into the skeleton's head, killing it and saving Steve. But there were still 6 more skeletons left to battle. The foursome was weak, and their health and food bars were low. It was just minutes before it became a losing battle. The Endermen surrounded Lucy. "Help!" she called to her friends. Steve could see Lucy battling the beast with her sword, but the blows didn't weaken the Endermen. He saw her jump off the cliff into the water. The two Endermen dove in after her and plunged to their deaths. As Lucy came out of the water, purple eyes emerged from the distance. More Endermen approaching. "This is never ending," she said as she jumped back in the water. The Enderman followed, succumbing to the same fate as the previous Enderman. A creeper lurked in the darkness. It crept toward Max. Its green body came closer to Max as Lucy screamed out from the water, "Watch out, Max! It's a creeper!" "There's one behind you too!" Henry called to Lucy as she stood at the edge of the water. The stealthy green monsters had a talent for silently creeping up behind players and unleashing an attack that left both the creeper and the player defeated. Lucy ran as fast as she could towards Steve, Henry, and Max. With their sword out, she attacked the skeletons that battled her friends. The skeletons lunged at the group. The friends used all their might to battle these creatures of the night, and the gang pierced the bony beast with their sword. "If only we had the powerful diamond sword, this battle would be easier," Steve said as his sword hit a skeleton. "Do you hear that?" Lucy asked the group. The sound of a fuse being burnt emanated from the creepers. Something was going to explode. The group ran as the creepers moved toward the skeleton. The creepers exploded and disintegrated from an attack on the skeletons. 3 CDs appeared where the skeletons fell. Steve grabbed the discs as Lucy and Max battled the remaining skeletons. "When we get diamonds from the sword, we'll also use some to make a jukebox. When we get back to my wheat farm, we'll have a huge party to celebrate our victory." The gang cheered, but before they could rejoice, an arrow flung at the group. "More skeletons!" they collectively moaned as the group spotted more Endermen approaching them. "How are we going to get out of this one?" Steve asked as he held the CDs tightly in his hands. He didn't want the group to see his hands shaking because he was nervous. Suddenly, a loud boom echoed through the giant night. It was thunder. As raindrops began to fall, the Endermen retreated, and the skillful fighter Max was able to defeat the last skeleton. The sounds of rain hitting the blocks had a calming effect on the group, who were weary from battle. "We should find some shelter," Steve said as the rain dripped from his body.
Look at our pile of bones,
Max showed the group proudly.
we might have had a difficult battle, but we gained lots of experience, and now we can use these bones.
"I hope we don't run into wolves," said Lucy.
But now we can tame them.
Max held a bone. "Wolves scare off Endermen," added Steve. A chicken came into view and Lucy hunted it and explained, "We need to get our food bars full." The rain stopped and the group sat and ate. They tried to relax as they kept one eye open for hostile mobs. "We need to find diamonds," said Steve. "Maybe we should stop looking for the diamonds. I want to hunt for treasure," Henry said as he ate the chicken and watched his food and health bars increase. "I need to save my village. I'm their only hope," Steve said. He was angry. "It doesn't matter if you don't go home. Hunting treasure is much better and a lot more fun," Henry lashed out. "What about our party?" Steve held the discs. "It sounds like fun, but I want to get treasure," protested Henry. "I thought you guys were going to help me find the diamonds," Steve said to the group. "I thought you wanted to be a part of my journey." Steve had finally met friends he enjoyed being with, and now he had to leave them. "We did, but truthfully, the diamond sword isn't that important to us," said Henry. "Do you guys agree with him? The diamond sword is the most powerful sword. Do you have one?" Steve said as he looked at Max and Lucy. They sat quietly. None of them had a diamond sword, and they wanted one. They didn't know what to say. "I'm going on my own," Steve announced. "I'm going to find diamonds, and I'm going to make that sword. Then I'll use an enchantment table to make it even more powerful." Steve began to leave the group where they sat in the field of skeleton corpses and a pile of bones. "Do you want any bones, Steve?" Lucy called out.
Steve, come back, Max pleaded. I'll help you find the diamonds.
"You will?" Steve turned around.
Yes, Max said. I've always wanted to have a super powerful, awesome diamond sword. I've never had one before, and I've never been to a party before.
"Seriously?" asked Steve.
Yes, I want that sword, Max said. I don't care what Henry says. I think he's afraid we aren't going to find the diamonds to make the swords.
"That's not true," Henry said. He was quite mad. "Then why are you being so difficult?" Lucy was annoyed. "I can find the diamonds without you," Henry told the group, "but I just worry that you can't find them on your own, and I'd feel bad." The group didn't question Henry, because they knew he was upset and he had made a mistake. "Come with us," said Steve. With his head down, Henry said, "I was wrong. I'm going to help you too. It isn't often that you run across someone who actually wants to help villagers." "I want to see your wheat farm and I want to dance to those CDs," said Lucy. The group set off to go on the ultimate diamond mining experience. As the sun began to rise, they heard barking coming from the distance.
Good thing we have these bones, said Max.
Alright guys, so here's with the reader critique in a kind of interesting chapter. It goes from fighting physical battles to fighting very deep emotional ones between that dick Henry and this bitch Steve. I mean, it's like, I just started my period, why don't you love me? And Henry's like, bitch, shut up, I'm gonna do what I want when I want, and there ain't shit you can say about it. Now get your ass in the kitchen and make me a fucking sandwich. That being said, can't we address the redundancy of the fact that these people use swords to kill skeletons? Yes, we know that they use their sword. There is no reason for you, Winter Morgan, to tell me 3 times in a matter of 1 sentence that these people use their swords to kill skeletons. I know how it works. You know how it works. We know how it works. Big fucking picture. You're not just going to run up and beat the fuck out of that skeleton with a shovel. I mean, come on now. Especially not if you're a skilled treasure hunter or Steve who has water up his fucking ass but cannot hold CDs in his inventory. Let's address the fact that Steve was clutching these things and fighting shit. What? So you're telling me that you have cobblestone, you have dirt, you have torches, all this armor, all these weapons, all these tools, and buckets of water, and probably some fucking other shit that we need, and you're just not. You probably have diamonds somewhere in that clutter, let's just be honest. But you can't hold 3 CDs. I'm gonna sneeze. Bullshit! And another thing. We know Endermen do not like water. Given fact. For whatever reason, that's how the developers program Minecraft. But I don't think that I have ever been able to lure that many Endermen into I can barely get one in a fucking pond. Yet alone, that was 2 in the beginning, and God knows how many others she jumped off the cliff for. Oh my god, it'll never end! So yeah, long story short, everybody on this chapter except for Max is on their period. Although Max is a little bit on the sadistic side, but we already know that with his pile of skeleton bones and his joy of raw meat. Everybody eats raw meat in this book. I mean, has there been a single time they cooked some fucking pork? Don't get me started on the salmonella. But anyway, this has been Kills for Food Gaming with another chapter from the Quest for the Diamond Sword, and I hope you all loved it. Do not forget to like, subscribe, share, tell all the little niggas of the world about it. Amen. Hallelujah. Also, don't forget to check the videos at the end of the description. Link video thing, the little end segment I do. Tell me how you like that. Also, let me know if I should change my intro and outro. I feel like they're a little outdated, but I want the words from you, my niggas. So anyway, this has been Kills for Food Gaming. Over and out. See you all later.